Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 163 based on novel. So let's start. On the auction platform below, the moment the black scroll was completely opened, Xiao Yan, who was on the high platform, suddenly changed his expressionless face. At the moment when the black scroll was opened in front of the old man, and at the moment when the fragments of Holy Order skill were exposed to the air, Xiao Yan clearly noticed that in his ring, something that seemed insignificant but was extremely important to Xiao Yang trembled slightly at this moment. It was Xiao Xian's soul that had changed at the moment. This is. Xiao Yang's heart was shocked. His whole body and even his soul could not help trembling. The muscles all over his body suddenly tightened at this moment. Even his beating heart seemed to be petrified in an instant. He stopped breathing. Xiao Yang seemed to stop life activities in an instant. Only those black eyes gradually filled with amazing excitement. In addition, it was shock. Xiao Xian, who has always been in the confusion between life and death, actually had a movement at this moment, which makes Xiao Yang, who has always been longing for, but with a little regret, very excited. For a moment, emotions gushed out like a volcanic eruption. When Xiao Yang woke up, his eyes became red. The excited tears in his eyes could not help condensing here and almost wanted to gush out. Since Xiao Yang's journey, there have been many exciting moments, but few really moved his soul. He has cried for his father and for his teacher, but he has never been so excited as at the moment. This emotion has been difficult to express in simple words. Xiao Xian. Ancestor. For Xiao Xian, Xiao Yang held a reverent attitude from the beginning. Xiao Yang always respected the latter's strength or his great love for the family. It can be said that Xiao Xian is the most important person of Xiao Yang except for a few people. In essence, Xiao Yang's strength now also includes Xiao Xian's pay. Boy, what happened? Xiao Yang's sudden mood change shocked Ji Yu's spirit who had been sleeping. Xiao Yang's mood can directly affect him. However, Ji Yu didn't know what happened in Xiao Yang's acceptance of the ring. Ancestor Xiao Xian, he moved. What? Xiao Yang was excited at the bottom of his heart. As soon as his voice fell, Guyo also shocked his spirit. He knew more about Xiao Xian than Xiao Yang. Under the latter's current state, it was impossible to have independent actions unless something is attracting him. For a moment, Ji Yu's mind turned sharply. Soon, he thought of something. Looking at the Yuanwu continent, I'm afraid that's the only thing that can make Xiao Xian's soul change. Do you mean? It's a formula for returning to the source. At the thought of this, Guyo's heart was shocked again, and he was very surprised. Xiao Yang, or Xiao Xian's luck, was too good. Guyuanju, which has long disappeared in Yuanwu. For thousands of years, I don't know how many people have been inquiring about the whereabouts of Guyuanju, but they have found nothing in the end. But now, I can't imagine that it happened to be met by Xiao Xian. After realizing this in his heart, Guyo noticed the environment Xiao Yang was in at the moment. Auction house. He whispered in his heart, and then, Ji Yu's eyes were like a sharp blade, quickly locked on the black scroll in front of the old man in the middle of the auction house. That's. Ji Yu fell into meditation again. At the same time, a shocking emotion surged up at the bottom of her heart. Boy, that scroll of skill. It's a volume of Holy Order skill, but it's a pity it's a fragmented volume. As soon as Guyo's voice fell, Xiao Yang immediately opened his mouth to explain. Although he had a trace of doubt about Guyo's question, Xiao Yang didn't hide anything. For the latter, it's not necessary. Holy Order skill? Ji Yu was shocked in her heart. At the same time, she also strengthened her guess in her heart. Holy Order skill. Guyuan formula. It's not only the Holy Order skill, but also appears in the auction, which leads to the fluctuation of Xiao Xian's soul. So I think, the Holy Order skill in this volume must be the source formula, which can't be wrong. Boy, be sure to auction this remnant, which is likely to be the reason for the change of your ancestors. Ji Yu warned Xiao Yang solemnly. At the same time, the expression on Xiao Yang's face also changed suddenly. It's not hard to hear from Ji Yu's words that he attached great importance to the Holy Order skill of this volume. Moreover, it seems to involve the ancestor Xiao Xian. Thinking of this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but feel a little surprised. He couldn't think of how Xiao Xian was related to this fragmented volume of Kung Fu. What is this volume of Kung Fu? At that time, suspicious questions were like a stream. They began to grow in Xiao Yang's heart, while Huiting on the other side had made a plan and quoted his own price, 50 spirit stones. Ladies and gentlemen, This gentleman is willing to give 50 spirit stones. I don't know if there are any more expensive ones present. In the middle of the auction table, the old man stood on the auction table with only one stone column left at his feet. His bright eyes swept the whole audience. His eyes stopped on by Zhou and Xiao Yang respectively. When he wanted to come, only those who were able to compete with Huating in the field at the moment, I'm afraid they were the only two. On the high platform, Bai Ying's mouth slowly aroused a sneer. Now, since this volume of skill is only a fragment, it no longer has any value for him. However, since Huating wants to buy it back, Bai Ying naturally can't let him go with the wind and water. However, just when Bai Yinggang was about to speak, Xiao Yang on the auction table raised his head according to the excitement in his heart, exposed the lower half of his young face in his black robe, stared at the black scroll in the field, and said in a clear and powerful voice, "I have 60 spirit stones." As soon as the voice fell, sharp eyes shot at Xiao Yanqi like arrows in such a large auction field. Then, people were surprised again. Unexpectedly, the bidder this time would be this mysterious guy again. Well, on the high platform, Huating, who heard this sentence, couldn't help frowning slightly. A look of surprise quickly flashed across his old face. Unexpectedly, this mysterious little devil dared to compete for what his family liked. It's too brave. On such a large auction site, Xiao Yang stood tall and straight on the platform. Countless people shot their eyes, and a look of surprise appeared in their eyes. No one could have imagined that after repeatedly provoking the Lin family and Xu Songming, this mysterious man in black robe was actually against the people of the Hua family. This is really a newborn calf afraid of tigers. Doesn't he know that the Hua family is one of the 4 families? This guy really doesn't know the greatness of heaven and earth. He thinks he is a third-order herbalist and can run amok. Who is the Hua family? It's one of the 4 strongest families under the Tianjian sect. He ranks second. He dares to fight them. It's blatant to die. That is, looking at the whole western region, in addition to the people of the 4 major sects, which force can fight with them and dare to provoke the Hua family? Isn't it intentional to die? I think he will suffer. For a moment, a voice of pity or disdain came from the crowd. From that voice alone, you can hear a sneer. However, RAO is so. When these people look at Xiao Yang, their eyes will still be filled with a little fear. Anyway, Xiao Yang's strength is still there. Even Lin Zheong, who is a strong fighter against the emperor, is not his opponent, so they are just half emperors. How can they be his generals? These people are like vultures. They are lively and dare not touch them. On weekdays, they behave like a passing duck, but when they see something that seems to be dying, they will show their true colors immediately. They are greedy and timid. They talk about it from time to time. It's like grabbing a piece of meat. It's more exciting than broken pieces. Haha, you are really a group of counselors. You have the ability to talk face to face. Why are you here? You are just a group of minions. You are destined to stay in this small western region all your life. If someone disdains to sneer, naturally someone will feel admiration. We all know that the 4 families are profiteering all year round and act extremely arrogant and domineering. Naturally, there are many people who hate them, and the strong man who spoke just now is just such a person. We're just stating the facts. The 4 families are powerful and arrogant. Looking at the whole western region, no force dares to provoke easily except the 4 main sect. Suddenly, a voice full of flattery spread rapidly on the high platform. Among these people, naturally, there are many people who hope to be like the Lin family and can be attached to the 4 families. In order to express their good feelings to them, at the moment, every word comes from them. Haha, no one dares to provoke. What a bunch of fools. You can't forget that just a short time ago, during the trip to the ancient ruins, the 4 families were almost destroyed. If it weren't for good luck, they would have died in the ancient ruins, and the person who caused this is just a 6-star-and-a-half emperor. Now you say that there is no provocation. It's heaven big joke. Wow. One stone aroused thousands of waves. In an instant, this person's words swept through the whole auction house like an invisible storm. In the auction house, everyone's ears echoed these words. Even if some people present didn't want to think of them, the information about that person was like beating gongs and drums in their minds for a moment. Xiao Yang, it's Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang. For a moment, Xiao Yang's achievements swept through the auction house quickly. Everyone couldn't help thinking of the legendary figure. Up to now, none of the people present have really seen him, but for the latter's achievements, these people have long been familiar with them, and it's not too much to even recite them. He is now the public enemy of the whole western region. Everyone wants to catch him immediately when they see him, but so far, even those who have met with him are equally helpless to him. As for the ordinary semi-emperor, he couldn't walk out of a round in his hands, and even couldn't stop his fist. Especially in the war in Hanshi City, Xiao Yang fought against people all over the city with 100, relying on his own strength. All these are deeply imprinted in the minds of these people. Even if he hasn't seen it with his own eyes, they will never forget it. Just after the story about Xiao Yang was posted in the auction house, the faces of some people everywhere in the auction house could not help but change. A few suspicious eyes could not help falling on Xiao Yang, who was standing on the high platform at the moment. At this moment, the first mock exam of the old man on the auction stand is looking at Xiao Yang from the light wall in front of him. In addition to the suspicion, he has a look of surprise. According to these guys, is he Xiao Yang? On the other side, Hu Ting and Hu Yuning solemnly stared at the black-robed figure in the field, and the palm under the sleeve robe was slowly clenched. If the person in front of us is really Xiao Yang, I'm afraid Shen Cheng and his party will not return empty-handed. Hu Yuning stared at the figure in black robe. A sense of killing gradually poured into the depths of his eyes, but his brother died because of it. Once the man in front of him fell into his hands, Hu Yuning was determined to avenge his brother. Little master. Well, I know. Don't act rashly first. I've sent a message. I think the family has got the message at this time. As soon as the auction is over, our people should arrive soon. Compared with before, Hu Yuning was much calmer in the face of this matter. Hu Ting nodded slightly. No matter whether the person in front of him was really Xiao Yang or not, they must try. If not, but if it was Xiao Yang, they couldn't let him go anyway. On the other side, the Bai family's father and son are also staring at Xiao Yang with all kinds of eyes, especially Bai Ying. He has personally experienced the energy released by Xiao Yang and his trip to ancient ruins. Up to now, even a simple memory, his heart can't help shaking slightly. That power is too terrible. Therefore, at the moment, there was no trace of hostility in her eyes towards Xiao Yang. Of course, this may also be because they had a secret cooperative relationship. Bai Ying immediately noticed the changing look on his father's face. He didn't have to think about it. He immediately figured it out. So, I'm afraid the reason why my father showed that look before was because he noticed his breath. Xiao Yang, who are you? Under the spotlight, Xiao Yang naturally noticed the change of the atmosphere in the auction house. Although most people are surprised and disdainful to him, there are still a small number of people who doubt his identity. After all, the black-robed man who appeared in front of them at the moment happened to be a half-emperor. Moreover, from the point of view of his strength against Lin Zheong, his combat strength obviously also had the level of fighting emperor. The most coincidental thing is that he is also a third-class herbalist. The 2 points coincide, and he is also a young man. Those who fight against the emperor and the strong have even been able to be sure that the black-robed man who is still independent on the court at the moment must be Xiao Yang. Damn it, this group of brawlers are so secretive. I can't imagine that it was you who exposed your identity in the end. Under the black robe, Xiao Yang frowned and couldn't help feeling dignified in his heart. Just now, his huge soul power obviously noticed a strange energy fluctuation, which spread out from the location of the Hu family. If the expectation is not bad, they must be reporting to the family. I'm afraid as soon as the auction is over, the Hu family will soon arrive. At the thought of this, Xiao Yang felt more dignified in his heart. His frown was also tightly twisted at this moment. Shen Cheng belongs to both the Hu family and the Bai family. Exposing his identity here is tantamount to entering the tiger's mouth. Once the strong men of the two families gather here and form a siege, Xiao Yang can't get out of trouble until he dies. As for the Bai family, Xiao Yang does have a cooperative relationship with them, but in this case, no one can guarantee whether the Bai family will secretly act for Xiao Yang. If so, it is undoubtedly a great help to Xiao Yang. If not, Xiao Yang will inevitably become a turtle in a jar and cannot escape. Now I can only hope that after the auction, the Huas haven't arrived yet. With a helpless sigh in his heart, Xiao Yang had to expect secretly. After all, the space auction is not an ordinary place. Can Xiao Yang leave if he wants to leave? Here, Xiao Yang has no other way but to wait anxiously. On the other side, the Bai family and their son are also communicating in secret. Father, did you notice? Well, they are afraid that they have recognized his identity and are calling the strong in the family. Hearing Bai Zhon's words, Bai Ying nodded secretly. He paid attention to the first small move of the Hu family all the time. Immediately, he couldn't help but tighten up a little and hesitated secretly. For the 4 main gates, Xiao Yang is the enemy and must not be let go easily. Tianjue ancient tomb is too important for the 4 main gates. You must catch Xiao Yang anyway. However, for their Bai family, Xiao Yang is neither enemy nor friend, but they must live well, because only Xiao Yang's survival can ensure the diversion of the attention of the 4 main doors. In this way, with the restraint of Xiao Yang, their Bai family will naturally be much more convenient. Xiao Yang, however, is the key to the successful rise of his Bai family. No matter what, he can't have an accident. At least, Xiao Yang can't die until his Bai family can be separated from the command of Tianjian Gate. Father, now the Huas have started, do we also want to? No, wait a minute. We have to wait a minute. If we convene the family at this time and 10,000 people from both sides will be present at that time, he will really have no chance to get away. We must give him a chance to leave. Our family will send a message before the end of the auction. Yes, father. Bai Zhong nodded. In the palm of his sleeve robe, a jade slip was included in the ring. Then, father, what if we run into him? Taking back the jade slips, Bai Zhong suddenly frowned and turned to Bai Ying. Bai Zhong's meaning is naturally worried about what to do after the auction. Even if the Hua family doesn't arrive, they can see through Xiao Yang's identity. It's impossible for them not to fight against Xiao Yang. In that case, their Bai family will be targeted by Tianjian Gate. Once they lose the trust of Tianjian Gate, they will be suspected of doing anything in the future, not to mention expanding the Bai family. But if you take action, with their 2 3-star fighting emperors and Hua Yuning whose strength has reached the early stage of the 2-star fighting emperor, it must be difficult for Xiao Yang to parry with the 3 of them. If Xiao Yang has an accident, it will be troublesome. Well, let's wait and see what happens. In short, we'll try our best to keep our hands. As for whether he can leave, it's up to him. Bai Ying frowned slightly. How could he think that Xiao Yang dared to come to the territory of their 4 families again, and now he is still sitting in the same auction house with them? It's really amazing. The auction is still going on, but the atmosphere on the field has gradually changed imperceptibly. This gentleman offered 60 spirit stones. I don't know who is present, but is anyone willing to offer a higher price than this? On the auction platform, the old man's eyes slowly swept the whole audience, and his sharp eyes stopped slightly in several places on the court. Especially when passing Xiao Yang, the old man's eyes were shining. Soon, he took back his eyes and opened his mouth. In any case, no one can stop the auction from going on as usual. I'll give you 70. On the high platform, Hu Ting spoke again. Now that he plans to leave Xiao Yang here, before Hu Jiaqiang arrives, he naturally wants to do everything possible to delay the time and delay the auction, which is undoubtedly the best and most effective method at present. 80. Xiao Yang frowned and felt more dignified in his heart, but he didn't hesitate at all. He knew the purpose of the latter clearly. If he hesitated again at this time, wouldn't he take the initiative to push himself into the fire pit? 90. Xiao Yang doesn't dare to hesitate, but Hu Ting looks leisurely. Since he recognized Xiao Yang's identity, he no longer plans to compete for the auction of this remnant. After all, as long as Xiao Yang is captured by the Hua family, even if the remnant now falls into his hands, it's just a temporary custody. Anyway, he will return to their Hua family sooner or later. It doesn't matter where he is now. Bit by bit, the auction price has increased from the initial 50 spirit stones to 180 spirit stones, and the elapsed time is as long as half an hour. Hu Ting deliberately delayed the time, which almost everyone present could see, but few people knew the truth. There was a strange atmosphere in the huge auction house. Everyone looked suspiciously at the 2 people who raised the price. No one knew what had happened. Old man. 190 spirit stones. 200 spirit stones. The market was silent for a long time. Then, everyone heard the leisurely quotation of Hu Ting. At the moment when Hu Ting's words fell, Xiao Yang's quotation came out on the auction ground. However, according to Jiu, the holy order skill of this fragmented script obviously plays a great role in Xiao Xian. Therefore, no matter what today, Xiao Yang must auction this fragmented script skill. Otherwise, he might have let Hu Ting take it away and would not delay the time until now. This scene on the field, even the old man on the auction table could not help but frown slightly, but there was also some helplessness in his heart. Hu Ting's grasp of time is extremely accurate. Every time he makes an offer, he is within the limited time range, neither more than nor a moment earlier. Xiao Yang is different. In order to end this battle without gunsmoke as soon as possible, he will always raise the price at the moment of the latter's bid, as if the time given to the other party is unlimited, and he has only a second or two. With Xiao Yang's opening again, the loud voice echoed in the auction house. All the people present had been frightened by the strange atmosphere, held their breath and waited carefully for the results of the two people. On the auction table below, the old man's face looked a little gloomy. He didn't expect that this Huiting would take the opportunity to use their space auction house. Unfortunately, the other party's name was right, and even he couldn't help it. A pair of old eyes swept over Huiting's body with some gloom. At the same time, in the depths of the old man's eyes, inadvertently, there was a light of sneer. Xiao Yang's body stood upright on the high platform. He had stood here for half an hour. Even though his body was not tired, his heart was under great pressure. Time passed, and finally, the silence on the field continued again and again, breaking through the time period that seemed to be agreed. Huiting did not speak again. At this moment, everyone in the auction house slowly breathed a sigh of relief. A light voice sounded in the auction house at the moment, which was clear and audible. Xiao Yang's heart was slightly shocked at this moment. The whole person suddenly raised his head, and his eyes instantly fell on the black scroll in front of the old man on the auction platform. A pair of dark eyes flashed a complex look. Today, I'm afraid he has to leave his life here for this volume of Kung Fu. Fortunately, this volume of skill finally fell into his hand. Congratulations, sir. We have successfully auctioned the last final item of this auction. At the same time, the old man on the auction platform finally breathed a long sigh of relief. This annoying auction is finally over. Because of the particularity of the auction items, this exchange is different from the previous one. Xiao Yang descended from the high platform and was released into the light wall by the old man. A huge curtain suddenly fell from the sky and covered the whole auction platform. Because of the particularity of the curtain, the people on the auction platform could not see the content. This is the rule of previous auctions. Some people present were very clear, so they didn't have any other thoughts. On the contrary, the people of the Hua family don't want the latter to disappear in their sight before they really catch Xiao Yang. It's only such a short moment, but they still have a sense of uneasiness in their hearts. When the huge black curtain was opened, two figures slowly appeared in the sight of everyone present. One of them was an old man in a white robe, which was the auctioneer, while the other, dressed in a black robe, had his breath hidden under the black robe, covered by the black robe, and no one present could detect the latter's breath. Seeing the appearance of these two people, Huiting on the high platform slowly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Xiao Yang was still there, everything was under control. Xiao Yang, this time, see where you can escape, Huiting scolded in his heart. The dry palm under his sleeve robe slowly grasped it, and his eyes showed a cold light. On one side, Hua Yuning also stared at Xiao Yang, who was under the attention of thousands of people at the moment, but there were other thoughts in her heart. Although Qianjuabu is only a human body method fighting skill, its value is far better than some spirit-level body method fighting skills. At the same level, Qianjuabu can show advantages that other fighting skills can't compare. This has been confirmed by Xiao Yang. Because of this, Hua Yuning's heart also yearned for Tianjua step. If he can get Qianjuabu and cultivate it carefully, he is sure that after Qianjuabu's cultivation is successful, he will not be afraid of anyone at the same level, and even be sure to fight Shuolin with his current strength. This is the power of Qianjuabu. All kinds of fighting skills have their own advantages, whether speed or strength. As long as they have advantages, they can have a chance to win in battle. However, the advantages of Qianjuabu are often unmatched by most body fighting skills. According to its actual effect, the level of Qianjuabu is far more than human fighting skills. On the high platform of another place, the eyes of Bai's father and son also fell on Xiao Yang in the field. Bai Ying nodded gently and signaled Bai Zhon. The latter understood it. The palm under his sleeve robe trembled slightly, and a jade slip appeared in the palm of his hand, which was immediately pinched and exploded by Bai Zhon. At the moment when the jade slips burst, an invisible energy fluctuation also spread quietly, diffuse away towards the outside of the auction. Soon after the invisible energy spread out, the old man on the auction table below raised his bright old eyes slightly, and his eyes fell on Bai Zhon. Then he took back his eyes, smiled coldly and didn't say much. Thank you for coming to this auction. Time is in a hurry. Our auction has come to an end. I sincerely hope that friends who have gained in this auction can be satisfied with this auction. The old man threw his fist at the audience and said with a smile. Of course, you don't have to worry if you don't get it at the auction. If you don't get it this time, you can also participate in the next time. Before you leave, you can get a famous post issued by our auction house for free. Next time, you can directly enter the auction house with this post. Pretending to bless, The old man also issued another means in the auction house for those who didn't harvest. As soon as this statement came out, most of the people who didn't get anything in the field were surprised. They were worried that they had wasted 500,000 spirit coins, but they didn't get anything in the end, but now it seems that it's not all true. As long as they get this famous post, they can enter the auction house for free next time. It's not too late to make a selection at that time. It seems that the 500,000 spirit coins are not in vain. Seeing the surprise expression on the faces of the group of people in the field, the old man smiled, immediately raised his hands and gently pressed the void in front of him. The people on the field immediately gathered their eyes. Now, I announce that this Shencheng space auction is over. The old man's voice fell, and all the people present got up and set off towards the way they came. Xiao Yang was at the end of the team, guarded by the old man, but no one dared to do it. Sir, in our space auction house, I will be responsible for protecting everyone's integrity, but once I leave the auction house and return to Shencheng, then we won't be in charge. When he settled down, the old man glanced at the people who had gone away, and then turned to Xiao Yang. At this time, the two people had also left the auction house and appeared on the square. Behind them, there was a huge auction house crawling here like a giant beast. Smelling the speech, Xiao Yang also turned his eyes to the old man in front of him and smiled kindly at the latter. From the latter's words, Xiao Yang could hear a hint of warning. Thank you for telling me. I will be more careful. Xiao Yang's voice was flat and his eyes were firm. This trip not only found the fire plume flower, but also got the fragmented holy level skill related to the ancestor Xiao Shen. No matter what, he will leave here, he will. Seeing the firm look on Xiao Yang's face, the old man felt a little helpless, so he had to nod and say, "Then please." Xiao Yang nodded slightly, raised his feet and walked in the direction of the space channel. Behind him, the old man narrowed his eyes slowly and stared at Xiao Yang's back until the latter's footsteps were about to step into the space channel. The old man suddenly said, "Sir, dare you ask, are you Xiao Yang?" Ah! Xiao Yang's body suddenly shook, and his raised steps stagnated in the air. For a moment, it was like turning into a sculpture. After a few seconds, Xiao Yang noticed that the people behind him didn't seem to have any malice. He nodded and hurried into the space channel in front of him. At the moment when his body was completely submerged, the voice of words floated out leisurely. "I'm sorry, Xiao Yang." Then, Xiao Yang's figure disappeared in the space channel. The old man in place also heard this. Even if he nodded slightly and breathed out a breath, he looked very deep in his old eyes. Shencheng. The brilliant sunshine spread throughout the city. The beginning of the space auction has lasted a whole week so far. Until now. On the flat and colorless sky, suddenly, circles of space ripples like water waves suddenly spread. Immediately after that, more than a dozen figures in black robes stepped out from one step, using the same means as a week ago. Soon after the success of the space channel, a human figure stepped out of it. In the city below, countless eyes looked up at the changes in the sky at the moment, and there were all kinds of expressions in their eyes. The auction is over. Suddenly, someone in the city said so. Over Shencheng, with the end of the auction, people poured out of the space channel. Soon, people spread all over Shencheng, like a dark cloud, so that the end city was shrouded in a strange atmosphere. When all these people appeared in the sky, the strange atmosphere shrouded over Shencheng also decreased. The crowd poured out and the noise gradually spread. The whole Shencheng became more heated and noisy. Everyone in the city couldn't help looking up at the sky, and everyone's eyes were filled with a touch of sigh. The space auction is an auction event that countless people in the western regions expect to participate in. Unfortunately, the expectation belongs to the expectation. Few people really have the opportunity to participate in each auction event. Seeing these people who participated in the auction walk out of it with a satisfied and excited smile on their faces, people in the city will naturally be jealous. Even some people have other thoughts at this moment. It is often seen. It is almost common to have robbed those who have participated in the auction, and this is almost an unwritten rule. Of course, the regulations are effective has the final say of the strong. The people who had just walked out of the space passage seemed to know what would happen next. Naturally, those with strength left without fear and with their heads held high, as if they were a team of soldiers to block the water and cover the earth. As for those who were not strong enough and gained something at the auction, they looked careful and vigilant. He looked around in a little panic, and then his body quickly flashed away and flew away outside Shencheng. Often only behind such people, there would be people like hyenas in 2s and 3s. In a short moment, those who had just come out of the space passage were scattered. When they left and looked into the sky, there were people from the Hua family, the Bai family and the Lin family, as well as Xu Songming's grandparents and grandchildren waiting here. The purpose of Hua Bai and his family is clear. Naturally, it is for Xiao Yang, and the Lin family dare not neglect it because of the relationship between the two families. Since they haven't left, the Lin family and their son naturally dare not start easily. As for Xu Songming, in addition to being slightly suspicious of the situation on the court, there is also his resentment towards Xiao Yang, which makes him stay here. Of course, a greater part of the reason is that Xiao Yang offended the Hua family. He just wanted to stay and watch the play. Even if he can't vent his anger in person, if he can see the man in black eating in the hands of the Hua family, his mood will be more or less happy. "En, what's the matter? Where are my Hua family? Why haven't they arrived yet? It's time to arrive." In the sky, Hua Ting's eyes slowly swept over the sky and frowned at the Shencheng below. After a simple exploration, he was surprised to find that he didn't detect the breath of his Hua family here. How could it be that we have delayed for half an hour? According to reason, even if they haven't arrived yet, they should be close to our breath detection range. But what's the matter? Hearing the speech, Hua Yuning on one side could not help but frown slightly. According to the inference of time, their Hua family's arrival in Shencheng was only half an hour at most. According to the calculation of time, from the end of the auction to their coming out, the Hua family should have arrived long ago. Even if they haven't arrived yet, they should be within their breath, but the current situation is, not only did I not see their figure, but I didn't even notice the slightest breath, as if they hadn't come at all. Didn't the family receive the message from our jade slips? Hua Yuning frowned and guessed. No, as long as the distance is not too far, the family will be able to receive messages, but now it looks like something is wrong with the jade slips, or the energy fluctuations emitted by the jade slips have been blocked. Hua Ting shook his head and denied. Huh. As soon as he said this, Hua Yuning's body suddenly shook, and his face also changed. In the space auction, who dares to block their actions, except Xiao Yang? I'm afraid there is only Bai family. Are they? It seemed that he suddenly thought of something. Hua Ting's old eyes looked frozen, and his gloomy face suddenly changed. If it was them, it would be absolutely no problem. With their strength, even if the two families joined hands, they might not be their opponents. Are they the guys at the space auction? What? No, these guys have always been neutral. How could they? Hua Yuning was surprised, and the look on his face looked a little surprised. No, everything is not absolute. Do they really mean neutrality when they say neutrality? No one will maintain the so-called neutrality in the face of absolute interests. That kind of remark is just a lie. Hua Ting shook his head and said solemnly, "Benefits? It's Xiao Yang. His cultivation talent is too terrible. His own combat power is far better than that of the strong at the same level. In addition, he is a third-order herbalist. If the four main doors are not hostile to him, he will never be willing to provoke him. But the problem now is that once there is room for people at the auction to intervene, it will be troublesome. Hua Ting has lived for so many years, and his experience is not comparable to that of Hua Yuning, a fledgling boy. What should we do now? Should we just let it go? No matter how possible. Although his auction house has great power, don't forget that this is the western region and the territory of our four major gates. If you use another jade slip right now, I won't believe it. Can they easily stop the people I want from Tianjian Gate?" Hua Ting's old face looked cold, his eyes fixed on the space channel in front of him, no more words, waiting for Xiao Yang's appearance, while Hua Yuning beside him turned his palm and another jade slip appeared in his palm. Without hesitation, he squeezed it out. Almost at the same time, the same scene happened between the Bai family and their son on the other side. Then, the four forces in the field quieted down. Each family was waiting for someone with different thoughts. Under the waiting of the four forces, a moment later, Xiao Yang, dressed in black, finally walked out of the space channel in front of everyone. Feeling the gorgeous sunshine coming from the front, Xiao Yang couldn't help breathing out a long breath. The scene in front of Xiao Yang made him feel like he had just been released from the cave. Although he had only participated in the auction for 7 days, the noise in the auction house made Xiao Yang feel very uncomfortable. It may be because he had been alone for a long time. I can't get used to this noisy atmosphere for a while. His eyes moved slowly. Immediately, what came into view was the 3 people who surrounded him in front of the space channel with a trend of semi-encirclement. As for Xu Songming, he stood aside and looked on coldly. This video will end here.